Hi, this is John Allen Green, Franciscan hermit from Johannesburg, with my weekly podcast. This is the most powerful woman in the world. Indeed, she's known in every country on earth, and hundreds of millions of people flock to her shrines each and every year. Billions of people carry her symbol with them. No other figure in history has been more portrayed in art, literature, and music. This is Mary, the mother of Jesus. This is the woman celebrated by God as filled with grace, blessed and humble. Yet Mary's journey looks anything but blessed. As a child bride, without her consent, pledged in marriage to an older man. Mary as a child herself, unprepared for motherhood, facing hardship on a dangerous journey at the whim of some distant colonial power. With all doors shut to her, she gives birth in a dank and stinking animal enclosure. This new young mother then becomes a refugee to protect her baby from insane and unsatiable political power. An unprotected widow, Mary endures the pain of every mother who witnesses the bloody torture and brutal murder of a child who is her own flesh. How can this be reflected for us today as women everywhere are using the power of social media to face and unseat the predatory beast that is the secret abuser? Scripture affirms that God is always at war with the prideful in their conceit. But how is humility to help us? Surely obedience and humility are the construct behind which the abuser so often hides. Our Western culture today underrates and dismisses humility as some archaic religious artifact. We do pay lip service to honoring the peacemakers, but our true heroes, these are the warriors and the celebrities, cheeky, self-important, and even a bit narcissistic. Just like at the inn, there's no place for humility here. Dr. Karl Albrecht, a lecturer, author, and futurist, describes humility as what you have when you give up certain self-aggrandizing thoughts, patterns, reflexes, and behaviors. He offers the proposition that humility is a kind of liberation, a paradoxical state of freedom from the culturally imposed norms of a narcissistic, me-first thinking. Humility is thus defined as a psychosocial orientation characterized by a sense of emotional freedom and freedom from the control of the competitive reflex. This competitive reflex is the preconscious, visceral impulse to oppose or outdo others, or to auto-react against perceived threats to one's established sense of self. Humility is not about being pushed around by others. It's not being a doormat, a sucker, or letting people walk all over you. It's not constantly sacrificing your interests to those of others, and then feeling within yourself like a victim or a martyr. It's not avoiding conflict or confrontation, at least not of your own making anyway, just for the sake of being nice. It's not about hiding your feelings or suppressing your views to avoid alienating others. So how do we free ourselves from this competitive reflex? It requires first that we recognize the reflex when it rises up in us, and second, that we choose a more versatile response. We must become aware of this competitive reflex in ourselves. Let's consider an example. Your friend has just remodeled her home and is pleased and proud of the results. She invites you to have a look. The premise of the situation whether you recognize it or not, is for her to show off her house, for you to appreciate it and to praise her for it, and for her to feel good about it. So what do we do? As she points out the various features, do I feel an impulse to tell her how she could have done it better? Do I explain things to her, signaling that I know more about these things than she does? Do I straighten that picture that's slightly skewed? Do I discourse on how I did it better in my own home? Does it turn into a bragging contest with two people trying to score points on each other? Or do I support her in a moment of triumph, satisfaction, and self-graduation? Do I offer unsolicited advice to others about how to live their lives better? Do I damn with faint praise when somebody shares their new idea or a new discovery about life? If someone tells a joke, do I feel compelled to top it with a better one? Or do I hold back on laughing so that the joke falls flat? Do I always have a better story, a better example, a better suggestion, or a better solution? Do I feel compelled to demonstrate how smart I am, or how much I know? Am I a backseat driver? Do I like to tell people how to raise their kids better? Do I lecture or preach to others? When someone says something that's mistaken or misinformed, how do I react? If I have a different opinion, do I precipitate a win-lose debate, or do I show respect for the other person's view as I'm sharing my own? Humility is less a matter of self-restraint and more a matter of self-esteem. The greater my sense of self-worth, the easier it is to appreciate others, to praise them, and to encourage them. A well-developed sense of humility shines through in our behavior towards others. They come away feeling affirmed, appreciated, encouraged, validated, and physically nourished. Most of us are powerfully drawn to people who treat us this way, almost like bees to a flower. For me, this is most perfectly represented in Mary, the mother of Jesus, who finally stands at the cross of her murdered son. Rather than railing against the evil of the world or wailing in horror, she stands her ground quietly when others have deserted, and becomes, for us also, an example of strength, of humility, and of perseverance. Mary is indeed the one addressed by God as full of grace, most blessed among all women, and a humble servant. We can find no better example. May the Lord grant you peace.